I need the scoop.
A twin brother's wedding invitation becomes a devastating revelation about family, betrayal, and manipulation. We're diving into a Reddit story that sparked fierce debates about loyalty, success, and what happens when moving away from home turns you into the family scapegoat. Get ready for a tale of passive-aggressive warfare, financial exploitation, and one person's powerful decision to finally drop the rope.
I'm a 28-year-old man and I have a twin brother. Growing up, we were inseparable, and until recently I thought we were still very close. I was always more of a shy nerd and he was an extrovert that played sports throughout our childhood and high school, but we spent almost all of our time together by choice. We went our separate ways when college came. He stayed local in Arizona and I went to college in Portland. When I graduated, I stayed there because I fell in love with the city. My friends are here, my professional networks from internships were here, and so on. But I always flew back home for holidays, events, birthdays, and other occasions. The flights aren't very long, just 2.5 hours, and between holidays and birthdays and other celebrations, I'm back in Phoenix almost every month. It's not like I've moved to another country and they haven't seen me in years. My brother announced on Instagram that he and his girlfriend of 3 years got engaged. I was incredibly happy for him and texted him congratulations. He mentioned they were planning to have an engagement party in 6 to 8 weeks, and I told him to let me know so I can book a flight to come celebrate. I was never told a date. If I brought it up with him or anyone in my family, they'd change the subject or say it's still being planned and confirmed. After a few weeks, I texted my brother to ask about the date because it must be getting close and I don't want to pay for the last-minute flight. No response. I asked my mum for details and she said, it's not really an engagement party, just a small dinner with family. There's no need to come down for it. I eventually found out that it was, in fact, a big party. They rented out an entire restaurant for 4 hours and there were about 80 guests, family, friends, cousins, everyone. Everyone was told I couldn't make it. My aunt, who was like a second mother to me, texted me that she was very disappointed I couldn't make time to join, and I replied that I would have happily come, but I was not invited. Word spread quickly about my snub and my parents and brother tried to say it was just a misunderstanding. That was almost over a year ago. Since then, I've tried to get to the bottom of why I wasn't invited. Over the course of months, it went from, it was just meant to be a small gathering, to, I don't know what happened. There must have been a miscommunication to, it's just a party, it's no big deal. I asked my brother if he was mad at me. I thought maybe his fiancée didn't like me. Even if she or he didn't want me there, why were my parents okay with this? This really wasn't like them. Christmas and Easter was awkward as heck because no one but me wanted to address the elephant in the room, and any conversation about anything was like small talk with strangers. When I visited in May for my sister's birthday, I left early after my sister said, "You moved so far away. It's like you're not really family anymore. You make everything feel so weird now." I always thought we stayed close. He'd visited me about every year for a week since I graduated. We may not have chatted or texted every day, but we kept each other informed of what's going on in our lives. We may not text for 2 to 3 weeks, but when we did, there'd be an hour of texting back and forth and inside jokes. I'd travel back home about 10 times a year, so I met his now wife and I thought we got along too. My brother has visited about 5 times, my sister lived with me one summer for an internship here. My cousin, who is totally on my side, lived with me and 2 of my friends in a 4-bedroom for 2 years after she transferred to the college I went to and finished her degree here. 9 months ago I got the save the date announcement, and 6 months ago I got the invitation to the wedding. I wasn't asked to be in the wedding party, which is fine and wasn't surprising at that point. My sister and younger brother were asked to be in the wedding party, so another snub. I also didn't get a +1 for my girlfriend I've been seeing for almost a year and a half. My sister, however, got a +1 for her casual partner. Honestly, my family loves her, or at least they say they do. She came with me for Christmas, and my mother pulled me aside and said I finally found someone who can put up with me, and she can stop worrying about my future now. My girlfriend was cool with there being no +1 and said it's getting more common to only give +1s to engaged or married couples, since the bride and groom don't want some stranger they never see again in their photos if the relationship doesn't work out. Engagements and marriages sometimes don't work out either. But then she found out my sister got a +1 for her casual partner. So I decided I wasn't welcome, and I was probably only invited for optics and to play Happy Family. I didn't RSVP no, since I knew that would cause a huge scene. I just didn't go. The wedding was this past weekend. No one contacted me about missing the rehearsal dinner, so I guess even if I did go, I wasn't invited to that either, or expected to be there. One of my cousins who was on my side actually told me that I wasn't even placed at the family table because there wasn't any room to fit me in there. So even if I went, I would have been some random guest. I started getting calls and texts about an hour before the ceremony asking where I was, if my flight was delayed, how far along I will be, and so on, and I ignored them. They stopped for a while during the ceremony but started up again right after. I finally picked up my mum's call and she screamed, "Where the heck are you?" I replied, "In Portland, where you all prefer me to be." She said, "This is your brother's wedding. How could you embarrass us?" I answered, "It's just a party. It's no big deal, right?" It was probably the first time in my life my mother was speechless. After a few seconds of silence, I said, "Tell everyone I said hi," and I hung up. Now I'm getting calls and texts from everyone saying I was being petty and ruined the day. So am I wrong here? I feel like I'm just matching their energy and dropping the rope. Honestly, I was going to suggest family therapy, but I'm not sure that'll even work or if I want anything out of that. Thinking about the last few years, it feels like any contact was always initiated by me. Literally everyone in my family, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, live a 30-minute drive from each other. I'm the only one that's moved away, but I visit almost on a monthly basis to keep connected. I probably make the most of all of my siblings, so I've gifted money in the past, mostly because I know it's a waste to loan to family. I feel like I give 110% to receive 70% back.
The Reddit community overwhelmingly supported the original poster's decision, with many sharing their own experiences of family scapegoating and manipulation. Armed with validation from thousands of strangers, the poster began questioning years of subtle mistreatment they had previously dismissed. 6 days later, a revealing conversation with supportive family members would expose the shocking truth behind years of calculated emotional warfare.
Thank you to everyone who responded to my last post. I can't believe how many replies it got, and I tried keeping up but couldn't. I also thought it'd be 50-50 on whether I was in the wrong or not, because I know what I did was a bit petty. For those who didn't read my last post, the thick of it is that I was specifically not invited to my twins' engagement party, specifically not included in the wedding party, and I chose not to attend after being iced out for the past year. To the people who said I was in the wrong, I understand your reasons. Yes, it was cowardly to not respond to the invitation to avoid drama, but looking back, I was in a headspace where I'd just cave to the guilt if I responded that I wasn't planning to attend. Also, a little part of me was hoping they'd realise I didn't respond, and they'd tell me they actually wanted me to come. But every day that passed between the response date and the wedding, I got angrier and more hurt, and I wanted to make it clear in a big way that if they don't want me around, I don't have to be around. And I get that's a jerk move. I had a long phone call with my aunt and cousin last night about the wedding drama. They've given me some more info, and our suspicions are a bit of conjecture based on what we know and what we've heard, but here it goes. We really do think my mother felt I rejected them when I didn't move back after graduating. This is despite always coming home for my brother and sister's graduations, all birthdays, mine and immediate families, holidays, special events, and so on. I practically visit on a monthly basis. But despite this, we think that she has some weird vendetta against me for splitting up her family and being an example to my siblings that they don't have to stay local. Even worse, somehow visiting so often made my mother resentful because my aunt mentioned that my mother once told her a few years ago that I was flaunting my wealth by showing I could visit so often. Thanks to my senior year internship, I went immediately into a field where progression can be quick, and thanks to going back for a very specialised master's degree, I am in a very niche space within that field and was able to move up faster. I'm not bragging, it was just luck, connections, and a great mentor early on. People suggested my brother might be jealous. He does earn less, but as far as I know he loves his job. It just doesn't have the same career progression. Honestly, his job is much more exciting than mine, and I'm sure it fulfills him a lot more. My job isn't terrible, it's just not one anyone wants to hear work stories about at a dinner party. I was also flaunting my money by gifting family money when they needed it. My grandfather often said, "Never loan family money. Give it freely if you want to, but you'll destroy relationships when you start asking for repayment." Not a week of Judge Judy reruns goes by without proving that true. So when I could, I gifted my family money when they needed it. Money for car repairs, money to help with my parents' mortgage when my dad was out of work during the pandemic, money when my brother ran out halfway through his kitchen renovations, and until last night, my parents' internet and Disney Plus bills. But I've now cancelled the monthly auto payments. Again, this was me flaunting my success, but they never stopped asking either. My aunt and cousin also said they've heard lots of passive-aggressive comments about me over the years. First from my mother during the first few years after I decided to stay in Portland, and then eventually from my siblings. We're pretty sure my mother slowly poisoned them against me for not moving back home and showing what happens if they ever try to move away. Someone said this about my mother meeting my girlfriend in my previous post. To be honest, given the context of everything else that's happened, what your mother said here about finally finding someone who can put up with you sounds less like a tongue-in-cheek joke and more like a not-so-subtle barb. I see it now, I laughed it off as just my mum's humour, but I now also see that these passive-aggressive comments to me, to my siblings, over years was subtle manipulation to turn them against me and for me to learn to accept it. A lot of people suggested this treatment was to get me to move back home and to punish me for leaving, but I'm not going to come home to embrace treatment like this and hope it goes away now that they got their way, especially when it's been too ingrained in them by now. It also explains why for the past few years almost every conversation is initiated by me. They simply don't like me anymore and don't need me until they need or want something. My cousin also learned from another cousin that my brother shot himself in the foot when he mentioned the engagement party. I wasn't supposed to know at all. The plan was to tell everyone I couldn't make it and hope I'd never find out. My brother told that cousin that I wasn't supposed to find out about it, but after he let it slip, I wouldn't shut up about asking to come. Based on how they've been talking about me for a couple of years, lots of extended family thinks I'm some annoying loser who makes my too often visits miserable for my family, and I can't get the hint to leave them alone. So I'm finally leaving them alone. My aunt and mother never really got along. My aunt is my mother's brother's wife, but my aunt said she knew all of this had my mum's name all over it, and that years of digs, passive-aggressive comments, and full-on aggressive comments have all come to this. She said they're not the same people. I told them that I don't think there's any coming back from this then. My aunt and cousin both mentioned that they never heard my dad say anything bad, so my aunt is going to have my uncle talk to my dad man to man to see if he can find out what the heck is going on. I thanked my aunt and cousin and reminded them they are pretty much the only family I have left, and I don't plan on losing touch with them. My aunt even mentioned that they haven't gone camping in years and asked if there are any nice places around Portland. It's too far to drive to go camping, but it means they may visit sometime. They also said they're going to try to correct info about me with extended family members, but I told them to not bother. They've already chosen to believe it. But for now, my immediate family are cut off. I've blocked them on my phone and social media. No more free handouts when they need money. No more wasting money to go to Phoenix, Arizona 10 plus times a year just to be roasted by the sun and family members. No more punching bag. Thank you all for your support and helping me realise my family really is terrible. It's a huge weight off my shoulders.
Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away from people who refuse to love you back. This story continues to resonate with thousands who face similar family dynamics, so subscribe to catch any updates on whether reconciliation is possible. Share your thoughts on family loyalty versus self-respect in the comments, and explore our other videos for more stories about setting boundaries with toxic relatives.